There are a bunch of reasons you might want to play Slayer. It might be his tricky mix-up, which converts into an insane amount of damage. Or you might be looking for a character that's easy to pick up with abusable tools like Map-a-Hunch, but still has a high skill ceiling due to stuff like Pilebunker Loops and dash canceling special moves.
Oh my god!
And hey, you even get a victory pose waifu. So if that appeals to you, you might just be a Slayer player, and this guide has got you covered. So before we talk about how to delete your opponent's health in a few hits, we have to talk about something way more important. Neutral, also known as how to get these hits in the first place. So we need to talk about K Map-a-Hunch, the move that will pretty much do 90% of Slayer's neutral for you. It goes almost full screen, and the cool thing, you might think this move is like unsafe, right? It's kind of unsafe. So let's talk about this. Spacing your Map-a-Hunch is really important for this character because you're going to be using it a lot. And so anything around here is unsafe, and it can be punished with a grab, which in the grand scheme of things is not that bad. Even if you get grabbed with Slayer's high health, it's not the end of the world. So as you see here, it says punish, but as long as you space it out around like this range, they're too far for the grab. Space out around this range, you're actually plus. As you see, my jab is coming out. There is 0, but around here, it's your turn to act first, right? And so this right here is kind of Slayer's key range. This is like what I would call the K Map-a-Hunch range. And your goal should be to do K Map-a-Hunch from like anywhere around here to like here, right? Just so you can make the block or potentially get a hit. And then you can convert, and then you can kind of start your offense. Or you want to do it anytime you think it'll hit. So even if you have to do it from here, it hits, your situation after is pretty good. You actually want to do another K Map-a-Hunch, and if you time it correctly, you can counter hit them, and then you can go into, you know, a very basic combo and do about half their health, right? So if you time it correctly, they can't mash against it. And this is a little tricky because it's at a slightly delayed timing, and the way I would practice this is I would put like recovery throw or something like that, and making sure that you aren't getting thrown out of your second Map-a-Hunch after you do the first one and hit, which is a little tricky. You do have to like manually time it. There's not like a secret other than like you just have to practice it. But as you can see there, like I was able to beat throw on block. So this is extremely potent. One of the most important things to get down with Slayer, because you're going to be using this move a lot. The other thing you need to know about Map-a-Hunch is it will actually, because it beats a lot of things, it will counter hit very often. And if you ever get a counter hit, you just do 5k into another Map-a-Hunch, and hopefully by that time they're already in the corner. And if for whatever reason they're not in the corner, you can just kind of repeat over and over, and then they're going to be in the corner. Very, very, very strong move. There's no matchup where you won't be using this. Some matchups you'll be using more than others, but there are ways to beat it. So for example, in the Slayer matchup, you can kind of react with a 6p and you can beat it. It's very hard to react, by the way. And other characters like Faust can just duck under Map-a-Hunch. So you need to have more tools in your arsenal to play Slayer in neutral. Now, the first one, I guess I'm saying this for the memes, is your P Map-a-Hunch. This goes not very far, but it's kind of like a good fake out to kick Map-a-Hunch, right? So for example, like I'm trying to react to the P Map-a-Hunch with a 6p. My 6p gets whiff punished by K Map-a-Hunch, right? So to me, I kind of think of this as like a really good fake out for the kick version. And especially against characters that are very reactive against this can be used to take up some space, and also to like kind of trick them into committing to an option that they shouldn't commit to. This move is also not the worst on block. It can never be punished, which is really good. I mean, but other than that, like, I don't think it's that useful in neutral because it doesn't go very far. All right, but he has a lot of other things he can do in neutral, right? So if they are like very aggressive, right, and they start to get into this range, this is probably his best poke. This is his 5k. It takes up insane amount of range. It might actually be the best 5k in the game just because of how far this goes. And you can cancel it into Map-a-Hunch, specifically the punch version. Kick version if you know it's going to hit, but of course that's going to be unsafe. But what I like to cancel into is his 2D. So if you're just like throwing this out there and they happen to like, let's say they're like running at you for whatever reason, and then you get a hit into a mix-up, and it becomes really, really nasty, really, really fast for Slayer. Another thing you can use to punish aggressiveness. Now, a lot of people, especially at low levels of Strive, are just going to be air dashing their way in because it kind of beats Mappa Hunch, right? They can like land or like they can at least make you whiff. Sometimes they'll just beat it, right? And it can go over the 5k and punish the 5k, right? Now, this is where 6p comes into play. 6ps, this is something in general, if you're new to Strive, you have to get used to 6ping people that air dash at you, because air dash is not actually as good as you might think. And you can have a few things you can cancel into. You can cancel into his Dandy Step and go into Pilebunker. So I'm personally a big fan of just 6p into K Mappa Hunch. You do have to delay it a little bit so it's more consistent, but that's usually what I go to. And even if it happens to whiff, which sometimes it does whiff, do it like too early, it's not the worst situation. You still get like a pretty good knockdown. A couple other things, his 5S is surprising. It must be one of the best anti-air 5S's. This thing reaches insanely high, and you can like always just dash cancel it. So for example, like even if they block here, you get like a pretty cheeky mix-up. So 5S is also really good in ranges like where they're right above you in 6p, or like potentially behind you in 6p might not work. A couple other tools you want to use in neutral. Again, K Mappa Hunch is most of it, but Dandy Step is quite good. I like doing the kick version of Dandy Step, and you have different follow-ups. So this really punishes people being passive, right? So one of the ways you deal with a lot of Slayer stuff is just block. Well, this punishes the blocking because he can go high, he can go low. We'll talk about this move more. But Dandy Step's really good in neutral, but it's also really good in pressure, which is where we'll talk about it. A couple other things that might be useful. His 2D takes up a lot of space and hits low. So if you're trying to clip someone low, this could work pretty well. And if you want to beat low hitting pokes, 2H is like actually really good for you, right? And you can just cancel that into Mappa Hunch or Pilebunker. And that's pretty much it. He does have a couple other, like he obviously has some other moves. I don't really recommend using them in neutral. A really common misconception, because in the old games, Pilebunker, which is this move, used to be really, really good in neutral. I have not found any success with it. It doesn't really have that great of a hitbox. It doesn't have really good invincibility. Like there's not much ill stuff before it comes out. And it's unsafe, and your reward's not that high, right? Compared to this, which comes out way quicker and is safe, and if you hit it, you're gonna RC and you're gonna do a bunch of damage anyways, right? To me, Pilebunker is more for pressure. We'll talk about that later. Pressure and combos. He can jump. I don't think his air dash game is that great because he doesn't have like anything to alter his air momentum outside of like this move, which is like not, it's okay. You can cancel like JS into JD and get like a multi-hitting overhead, but like in terms of like being able to anti-air, it doesn't really like have anything that's like amazing, right? So I recommend not jumping with him that much. He can cancel the startup of his dash with a jump. We'll talk about this more in the advanced section, but this is actually pretty good for mobility. You just hit dash and you hit up forward, and he can get like, he can be a little tricky. You know, you can do like patterns like jump forward, air dash back, Mappa Hunch. All things with this character, you'll find return to Mappa Hunch, right? But there's some cool stuff you can do with that. But if you are gonna air dash over, like let's say you get a read, I recommend doing air dash JH just because it hits at the right height to get a combo into whatever, right? Second word of advice is, you know, this character has a lot of health. You have health for a reason. Don't be afraid to take risk. Sometimes you just have to let it go with Mappa Hunch and pray for the best, or sometimes you do have to take that risk and air dash in or try to like zoom your way in like this. All right, so let's talk about his combos. Now this character, his combo game can be really easy or really complex. We'll talk about the easy combos, and these are the combos you need until you become a really strong player, right? Don't overcomplicate the combos of this character because the basic combos do 80% of what you need, and focusing on things like neutral and fundamentals are way more important. A lot of beginner slayers will end in this K Mappa Hunch. You want to try to end your combos with Pilebunker, and this is for a couple reasons. One, it just does more damage. You can see it almost does double damage as the Mappa Hunch, but also you get a way better knockdown situation. So this is like, if let's say I happen to get a close slash, which on offense you'll happen to get this a lot, go into K Dandy Step into the Pilebunker follow-up, and then you whiff and that does a pretty good decent chunk, right? Then you whiff a K map punch. It's actually your turn, right? So you saw how they threw there. Now I do this again. And if you time it right, you can blow up their throw and then start your offense. So you have a lot better offense after a Pilebunker on hit as well. The other cool thing about doing Pilebunker is it always breaks the wall. It doesn't matter what the wall, with this character, you don't even have to worry about wall scaling because anytime you do a Pilebunker, it's gonna break the wall. And you can still land super or whatever you want after it. It is a little tricky to time. You're gonna have to practice that timing, but in general, you're gonna be using Pilebunker a lot in combos. Another really common situation is anytime that you RC a combo, the very basic RC is 5S, 6HS into Pilebunker, right? And most of the time you want to be using the kick version of Dandy Step just so you don't cross up. But let's say for some reason, like you're in this situation, you can actually cross up a lot of the time using the punch version of Dandy Step. And you see like it crosses up like that. Of course you can, like, let's say you can RC, you can just dash, and then this is usually what I opt for. I think it's a little bit more consistent, a little easier execution. A couple other very basic combos. If you ever do 2P, just go straight into the punch map a hunch. Now you actually have a pretty, your options are pretty limited here. Usually I'll just do like 2K, 2D. Alternatively, if you're close enough, after this you basically have strike throw, right? Strike or throw. The other combo you're gonna need to know is 2K, 2D. So one thing you can do, you can safe jump. It's a little tricky to time. As you can see, I dropped it there, but you can get it consistent. What I like to go for after 2K2D against like most characters that don't have a charge input DP, aka pretty much everyone but Leo, is 2K2D into 5S, and then if you dash cancel this 5S, you get a cross up that, and then you do 5S again, it blows up everything that they will do, like a wake up throw or something. And there's actual mix up here because if you delay the dash cancel, you can go front side. As you can see, that looks really ambiguous. I haven't met an opponent yet that can block that consistently. So this is my go-to because it can like cross up dash inputs and cross up DP reward. You get really good reward off it too. There's one other setup I think you should learn, which is after throw. Now, anytime you get a throw, you can whiff a jab and then dash, and you can either remain front side, or if you like slightly walk forward, you can be cross up. And again, this is like super dirty. And one of the things you're probably noticing are on these three setups, right? At 2K2D, after Pilebunker or throw, I'm starting everything with a far slash or a close slash. And the reason this close slash is so good is it's plus on block, and it leads into like pretty much everything. So this is where we're going to talk about offense. Now, in my opinion, because Guilty Gear is a game where 90% of the player base is like chimpanzee brained, where they just think the best way to get out of everything is to mash, right? They're just mashing throw on wake up, they're mashing jab on wake up. And I kind of don't blame them because it's really easy to do, and it punishes people that don't time things correctly, right? So your goal, at least for your layer 1 offense with Slayer or any character, is to figure out how to stop mashing. The first step to this is, anytime you land these like setups, making sure your 5 slash will counter hit anyone that's trying to throw, right? And thankfully, like, these setups aren't that hard to time. Like you see, I'm getting it pretty consistently every time. Almost every time, right? Yeah, I'm getting back there instant. There we go. I also sometimes don't like whiffing it. I actually like just manually timing it after throw. I just find it easier. But either way, you want to make sure your close slashes are being throw. And after that, you have a couple different options, right? If people aren't mashing and people aren't jumping and people aren't being disrespectful, that opens up way for the command grab, right? Now, this command grab is quite good. It basically gives you this buff called Universe. So if you ever hit them again, you get a forced counter hit. And where I find this really useful is Dandy Step. So let's say you convince them to finally block, right? Then you start doing Dandy Step. You can do the high or the low Dandy Step, and then you get a combo into whatever, right? And as you can see, the combo after Universe is exactly the same as your RC combo. when you're starting out, and it does a freaking chunk. So after the command grab, if you do forward slash, right, you can get a very basic combo like that. But the whole goal is to convince them to sit still. So when you hit this command grab, you can go into high-low and then combo their ass, right? But my recommendation, especially if you're anything below like floor 10, don't worry about the command grab when you're starting off, because again, everyone is a degenerate player when it comes to Guilty Gear, and they're just gonna mash, and so you want to learn how to beat the mash, right? Second thing you should try out with Slayer is put the dummy on guard and make them mash like crouching jab, right? And so your goal here is to, this will probably happen to you a lot, right? Is you're trying to do like, because eventually you want to do these like block strings into dandy step, right? So you can do your mix up. This mix up can be kind of hard to enforce if they're just mashing, right? So you have a few different ways to beat mash. One is you could just delay your block strings a lot so that it eventually beats mash. So you can see 5S, 2S, 2H, right? Same idea. As long as you're delaying your Gatlings, you can blow up mashing. The other thing you can do is you can just cancel into Wall Assault. And generally, like any heavy, cancel into Wall Assault. You can get something like this, and you get the universe buff, and you get a decent amount of damage, and you stop them from mashing, right? The other thing you can do, especially if you have 50 meter, just cancel into Pilebunker. Now, this is, I think, is really cheap, because if you're close enough, and let's say you do 2H, you cross up, and even if they're not mashing, no one's blocking this on reaction, right? And you can just do the same combo, and I just did like literally half their health. And so I like this string. Some people will do, I like 5S 2S for a couple reasons. One, because right, it sucks them in, so you can continue your pressure more. The other cool thing is once you get them to stop blocking, after 5S 2S, you can just do command grab, right? Once you know they're not gonna mash. But yeah, there's a few block strings you can do. 5S 6HS also beats mashing, and it's auto timed, which is really nice. And you can get something basic like that. Another option is you can do 5S far 5 slash. And this is kind of nice too, because you're actually plus on block here. And the issue is that you don't have the best options to like beat mash here, other than just like delay canceling, right? But at the same time, like it's a lot easier to like continue your pressure if they just keep blocking. You can just keep like looping this over and over, and then convince them to mash, and then they die, right? Another place people like to mash is after blocking sweep, right? And that makes sense because the sweep can be unsafe, right? So like, let's say for example, I just do this here. Yeah, I get punished, right? You can cancel into P Mappa, or like after any block string, you do have to like slightly manually delay, but you see like, if you just delay cancel, you can beat mash, and it's pretty consistent, right? You RC, you get a bunch of damage, right? You can also be really risky. Not really risky because you're only getting throw punish, but do cancel this into K Mappa, and this is auto timed, and you get more damage after it, right? Without having to use RC. Basically, choose your block string. I think they're all good, but I just recommend using. I think this is just the easiest for me to use, so I stick with that. The other nice thing about canceling into this is like if people are trying to jump out of your pressure, this hits low, so you'll catch a lot of people too. And this actually makes a really good cancel in the dandy step. Let's say on block, right? You can go for high low. You can also just let it rock, go for a throw, go for a command grab. There's a lot of cool things you can do here. And on hit, you just cancel the Pilebunker, and you already did like 20% of their health. If they FD, I actually kind of like this too, the 2S, because it deals pretty well with FD. But if they're FDing, it means they're blocking, right? So it's to me, this kind of negates FD a little bit. I'm not too worried about FD with this character. My whole goal is to stop them from mashing, and once I stop them from mashing, I start going for these follow-ups, right? Once you convince them not to do anything, like not to jump out or not to mash, you want to be able to get away with this move. Now this move is super, super cracked. It's the H follow up to his dandy stamp. And it does everything. This thing is super, super plus on block. So I'm gonna set the dummy to after block, they're gonna mash here, right? You saw how long it took them to mash. After Master Hammer, you can alt dash, and then the 5/ is just automatically, the close 5/ automatically timed to beat mash. And if they like FD, like sometimes it won't actually cross up, and like the mix-up's pretty gross, right? Or if you know they're not gonna do anything, or they're not gonna jump. Oh my god, I can't actually tell which way it's gonna fucking hit. It's actually fucking me up. You can also command grab. And the reason command grab beat mash there. Now, normally mash beats command grab. This is a guard crush. And guard crushes in this game make you vulnerable to throw and throw where you can't mash. So landing this move is really, really strong. Not to mention a lot of people just get hit by it because sometimes it won't cross up and sometimes it will cross up. But your goal is to, you know, condition people to not see this move. Now, good players can jab this out on reaction. Oh my god, bro, you serious? Like, as you can see, this is kind of hard to hit out on reaction, but if you're really focused on it, you'll be able to like jab this on reaction. But it's tough because that means you're respecting all the other follow-ups, right? And that also means you're gonna lose to stuff like dandy step, throw. So if I had to recommend any defense against Slayer, if you're watching this to like beat Slayer, I think just jumping back is pretty strong against this mix-up. If you can react to the dandy step, because it does sort of beat all options except, you know, Pilebunker. And Pilebunker's risky, especially if they don't have 50 meter. But there's no option that beats everything. So to me, it's like you have to cycle between like mash jab on reaction to this, like at a delayed timing, and like jump out and just block. That's really what it comes down to. Good luck. Good luck. Basically what I'm trying to say is good luck on defending this character. Also, if you do get to block this or this, it is your turn, right? So for example, like he can't do this and then just mash. It is actually your turn to mash. And then you can, you know, go for your mix-up. So if you do guess right on the mix-up, thankfully it is your turn outside the Master Hammer. You can throw him after he jumps. Bro, I think throwing him after he jumps is like so risky. Like, yeah, you could throw him after he jumps. You get 76 damage. Or you could fuck it up and you literally lose all your life. Like or you just block it. I don't know, this seems like, I don't know how consistent I can get this. Yeah, I guess it's like, I guess you can kind of do it somewhat consistently. Let's just put it this way. I've played many hours of Slayer. I think this happened to me once. But yeah, I guess this is pretty good counterplay though. But be careful. Make sure your timing's on point or you're just gonna get fucking exploded. Do at your own risk. There's one button I forgot to cover, which is this 6K. Now this 6K it's okay. I don't recommend using it that much, which is why I didn't cover it initially. But it does have some use to kind of like reset your pressure if they aren't FDing. I don't know. Like let's say they have, this is like a really conditional thing. They're not mashing and they're not FDing. Like this is pretty good, right? Like you can like kind of reset. This is plus on block. Also it's overhead, but it's like super, super slow. You can also like hold the button and do a taunt. And then I don't know, it's kind of useless to me. But just because it recovers so slow. But you do have that move. I feel like I have to cover it. All right, so let's talk about defense. Now, this character's defense is okay. It's really held back by the fact that his backdash is probably the worst in the game right now. It's a heavy backdash, so it has a good amount of invul, but it's really, really slow, and he can't cancel the backdash with anything other than this move right here, which is forward slash out of backdash, which I don't find that useful other than like specific safe jump setups. So for example, I think it's pretty good in situations like that. Now, unfortunately, this is like unsafe, so if they just block it, then you get full punished. So I think it's only really good to do if you have full meter, but it does have a little bit of use. I recommend not using it that much because it's very easy, like, just to get hit out of it, because the portion where he leans forward doesn't have any invul. Honestly, like, you still need the backdash occasionally. Backdash is really strong in this game. Obviously, the universal options in this game, like the laid mash, fuzzy jump out. Fuzzy jump's obviously quite good. With Slayer, it's okay because he doesn't have the best options. You know, just blocking, FD. Yeah, you know, the universal options are really good. Specific to Slayer, he does have his 2P goes quite far, so like at this range a lot of characters 2Ps won't hit. His will, and he has a really good thing to cancel 2P into, so like mashing 2P with him is pretty good. I like defensive 2K in general. It's only 1 frame slower, and you know, leads into this fucked up situation, right? So your reward off of 2K is a lot higher, and it hits low, and it goes further. So generally I like doing 2K out of pressure than 2P, but sometimes you need that extra speed. You do have an invul super, which is it's okay. It's really slow. So let's take, for example, this throw setup, right? Like, I know he's gonna cross up because I can see it. I reversal supered. He's still able to block in time. So you have to be really careful with that. Now, in order for the opponent to make this work, they have to do a move that is all reactive, right? Which means that if an opponent does a setup that's safe against your super, generally you can backdash it, right? And it also means, so there's this thing where you can cancel your super, the start of your super, into RC. And you see how he kind of like leans back and then RCs. And so if it's like one of these setups, like a safe jump or something like this where it's really meaty, if you time it right, you can actually invul through it. Bro, I'm so bad timing this. Like that. And then I could have actually got a full combo there. So that's like the most. I wouldn't recommend practicing that one right away. He does, at the higher level, like the more you understand about the game, he does have some okay options with meter. Yeah, because the super is so slow, it means he has a lot of invul frames, so it's like, it's actually pretty decent for that. So once you get the basics down, aka blocking, I recommend learning that. So do keep in mind, you got extra health, so it's, you know, he's balanced by it, right? Like, every character needs a weakness. It's okay not to be that great on defense, and you have the extra health to kind of tank some hits and win more. All right, so let's talk about everything I skipped in the advanced section. So I actually skipped round start because, in my opinion, beginner players should just back off round start because there's a lot of character specific interactions, a lot of matchup knowledge that you need if you're going to take a really aggressive round start. But let's say you're at the point where, you know, you can start taking some risk around start. You actually have, I think this 5K is a really, really strong round start. This will beat a lot of, like, how do I say, like, people doing like far slash, or it also beat white wild assault, which is really annoying to deal with. So to me, this is like kind of my go-to, and you know, you can just buffer it 5K 2D into, you know, starting your party. Other than that, I don't think his options are that great. He kind of lacks like a really quick slash button that reaches round start distance, but there's a couple other situational things. I do think Slayer should be backing off quite a bit round start, unless it's against someone like, I don't know, Happy Chaos, where you want to like take the initiative. All right, so let's say they're trying to do like a light, you know, the sweep will whiff punish it, and it catches low, so like maybe if they're walking back, they have slow walk speed, you'll be able to catch them. So I think sweep has some use. And the other move I think has some use is 2H. Now this 2H actually just blows up any low hitting move. So any people that like to do 2S round start or like a sweep, and you get hella damage off this, right? Obviously a very basic combo. And they're already in the corner. They already took a third of their health. You can make a really good read off of this, and if you learn some of the more advanced combos, you can wall splat and basically win the game off just 1 2H read. So use sparingly, but once you got the opponent conditioned to go low. So that's mostly it for round start. I mean, maybe 6P might have some use if they're like doing something that's really that's beating all your other stuff. But I think 5K probably covers a lot of that. He has a mechanic where you can dash cancel, right? We talked about dash cancel jump. This is really easy. He can dash cancel his moves by inputting the move, then dash, then jump. So it looks like something like this. If you fuck it up. Now, if you do it correctly, when you do the dash before the heavy slash, it looks like this. And you can see the range on the normal compared to the dash is quite significant, right? And this comes into play a few different ways. For example, dash punch hits, and you don't have to worry about the range, right? Let's say you get Bloodsucking Universe, you can do it again. You can get him in the infinite, right? I've never met anyone that will let you just keep repeating this, but you get the idea. And as you can see, it's quite hard. I haven't practiced it as much as I should. And it is quite tricky. If I had to give any tips, you know, I use a fuck. I'm breaking the fourth wall here. This is a hitbox cross up. So what I like to do is, like, especially if you play leverless, it's the same idea, where you use one hand for everything, right? Where you basically press dash and then jump and heavy slash at the same time. So for me, it looks like this, right? To do the motion along with the, you know, the left hand input. If you use pad, good luck. I think if I were to play pad, especially because tournaments are on PS5 and you play a PS5 controller. When I play pad, I play on PS5 controller. You can map this to be the same as this. And so I'd probably do like a motion where I like hit up and heavy slash and dash at the same time. So it's like this, right? Instead of, I don't know, trying to do it normally, but good fucking luck if you play pad. That's all I gotta say. But I'm sure you could do it. I honestly, like, I'm sure there's someone out there that can do these on pad super consistently, but it's gonna take a lot more effort. All right, immersion back on. Actually, where I think this shines, funny enough, I don't even think the dash cancel bite is the best. I actually think it's because, again, K Mappa. We stopped talking about this move. You can dash cancel K Mappa as well. And it basically gets like extra range. So this is non-dash cancel. You see I'm like at least like a couple characters away. Now I end up right next to them, right? So I think especially in like matchups against zoners, this is super useful just to get that extra spacing to get your plus frames or whatever you need. So I think this is probably the one you're going to be using the most. I think it's really good. You can also do dash cancel dandy step. It's not as useful in my opinion, but you can do it. I think it might be like pretty good for like advanced knockdown situations. So for example, like after Pilebunker, you might not have the distance to like this doesn't like quite reach as well. So like that reaches, but if you wanted to be like, I don't know, maybe a little closer, you could do, I don't know, maybe you could get a little closer with the dash. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm sure there's some more applications out there. Just being able to dash cancel your Mappa punch, I think, is extremely valuable. All right, now we get to talk about the fun part of the guide, which are Pilebunker Loops. Pilebunker Loops are kind of like the key to optimizing this character. Now, you can get Celestial, you can get way past Celestial without learning these Pilebunker Loops. But if you really want to maximize this character, you have to learn them. And we'll start with the easy ones first. So there's like auto time Pilebunker Loops and there's manually time Pilebunker Loops. And you want to do the automatic ones because they're a lot more consistent. One that I find is the most common is if you land close 5/, counter hit. So like, for example, after you block a DP, there we go. And you can see that does a lot more damage than, you know, maybe just what I would do before, which is, you see that did like 70 more damage. And even something basic like this, which is my DP punish, like if I'm in like a pinch, you see that did 40 less damage and didn't break the wall, right? So this would be the first one that I learned. And the cool thing is everything's just auto timed. You can literally just mash this combo out and it won't drop it. The timing is a little tricky, like when they land, but as long as you do it like as soon as possible, they won't float away. And you can get the wall splat. Now after that, it gets a little more complicated, but they can be landed in matches. So if you want to get a Twitter clip, this is the way to do it with the character. So take, for example, this Pilebunker Loop here by Croxasock. Shouts to him. Probably the best Slayer in America back in the Xer days, or still now. But you can see you can get up to three Pilebunkers in a combo. And you can absolutely delete someone. Let's break this situation down. Block the Master Hammer. We talked about that. You can dash cancel, get the 5S, 6HS into Pilebunker, right? Now, the way the scaling works in this game is that, let's say they just get hit by the 6H in the Pilebunker instead of starting with 5S, this combo will not work because the more scaling on a combo, the more gravity there is, and these Pilebunker Loops are really finicky. So it has to be this 3-hit starter. But when you get that 3-hit starter, this is all auto-timed, and then you can blow them up.
Oh my god.
That's the only one I could find in match. There's not too many examples of people doing these in match because obviously they're pretty hard, they're pretty situational. But here's a couple tweets I saw with like cheat sheets on how to do the Pilebunker loops. So we're not going to go through them, but the idea is that you want to use the auto-timed. And I'll link these, you know, if you want the notation, I'll link them in the description. But as you can see, like you can land this after a lot of different things, and it becomes really useful because you can get some pretty crazy Oki situations off of it, right? Like being able to break the wall and get into meter positive is really, really important in this game. These are some more examples. People are still finding these out. I have a feeling by the time this guide is out, there's going to be even more examples of Pilebunker loops, considering this is just posted 19 hours ago. And so it's kind of hard for me to say, or any guide that I've seen online, what the best Pilebunker loops are. A lot of the initial ones that came out and you'll see in combo guides are like manually timed, and I don't think those are really worth going for. But ultimately, this is the feature of the character. So if you want to get good, you gotta learn these. A couple other things that I think as you progress, you'll need to learn more layers of mix-up with the character. A couple cool things I've seen that I just want to share is this is a overhead low mix-up where you RC right away, and if you do it at the correct timing, you can actually block a reversal, and obviously there's the low follow-up to that too. I think that seems really strong. I actually forgot to talk about this because it's very situational, but there's certain things you can react to with the super. I don't recommend just throwing it out, but I recommend reacting to certain things with the super. And if you react to it, you get a counter hit at the right spacing, you can do another super and just kill them. Actually hilarious. This is a manually timed one, but yeah, even like these like random counter hits, like this counter hit 5H. This combo's hard, but you get the idea. Is like so much of his stuff can be converted into Pilebunker loops. This is just a really cool mix-up I saw. Again, there's so many different iterations, but like no one blocks this the first time, by the way. Absolutely disgusting. Into the Pilebunker loop. Yeah, this looks super optimal. But yeah, I think more people are gonna be coming up with better mix-up, and this character is gonna be a mess for sure. Chat, any questions? How do you get out after you block the stagger? Bro, you got to fucking guess. The goal is not to block the stagger. Hate to break it to you. Is it worth saving? Oh my god, I forgot to talk about the 100-meter super. Fuck. All right. No, it's not worth saving. It's not. I've landed this move once. The issue is that you have to land a clean hit without spending RC, and RC in this game is so good, and you see how much damage the Pilebunker loops do anyways. I don't think this super is going to find much use. Maybe very situational, like you're doing defensive mash and it's like, all right, like I want to lock them out of burst. I do the super. And like this is all guaranteed damage that they can't burst. Then yeah, maybe you'll find some use in that, but I find it myself very rarely using that super. I mean, you could combo into anything. The issue is like, how am I gonna counter at 2H after like just randomly getting that? I mean, yeah, this would be fucking sick if I could get it. It's just like the way Guilty Gear works, like if you're sitting on 100-meter for too long, like you're just trolling, right? Also, this doesn't have invincibility. It looks like it should. It doesn't. So anyways, yeah, Slayer is really fun. I really like this character, and I think you will too. So just like any character, like obviously the very easy things like spamming K-map, a punch, and neutral, you'll get that down pretty quick. But then when you start to get better with the characters, start to get higher level, you're gonna have to now keep incorporating more things in your game plan. I think you'll eventually get this. Rewatch the guide a couple times, you'll probably pick up some new things as you rewatch. If I could just give you any recommendations, just, you know, keep an open mind, especially if you're learning a new character. Things are gonna take a while to learn. No character in this game is just like pick up day one, you start beating everyone. So you're included, even if people are calling him like degenerate and really easy, which he is. He still takes time to learn. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see more guides like this, like, sharing, and subscribing is the best way you can help support the channel. As always, take care, y'all, and have a good one. I gotta mention the waifu. Having a waifu is actually pretty important. That's why I played Byakuya and Unio, bro. You get a celebration waifu. Very important.